All right, well, today we say goodbye to an Aussie legend unlike any other. Ron Barassi, a footballer, a captain, a revolutionary, but more importantly, a loving father and a friend to all. The State Memorial Service will not only celebrate his immeasurable contribution to football, but also to the Australian community. And joining me for more now is Nine Sports presenter Tony Jones. TJ, good to see you. I mean, where do we even begin when we honour somebody of this stature?
It's hard to know because there were just so many sort of tentacles to this story, if you like. I mean, he was very much a humanitarian too. I mean, he did so much work for legacy because he lost his dad in World War II and Ron was only 5, and that was one of his greatest losses, really. I mean, for a man that sort of like lived by wins and losses, that was his greatest loss, his dad, and it's something, you know, he longed for all that, you know. So Norm Smith, his coach at Melbourne, very much became a father figure to him. So, yeah, look, I mean, to answer your question, that's just one storyline from the story that is Ron Barassi that will play out today. There
will be some incredible people honouring him today, won't there? There's some tributes that we're going to look forward to. What can we expect from the state funeral?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a man that sort of like was spread across 4 clubs, Carlton, or in order would be Melbourne, Carlton, North Melbourne, Sydney Swans. So for a couple of Collingwood supporters like us, that's very hard to watch.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it? Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, it didn't matter who you buried for. You loved Ron Barassi and you could only admire what he did. I mean, 10 premierships, 6 as a player, 4 as a coach, and they were groundbreaking premierships as well. So we'll hear from rivals, and I put them in inverted commas, Lee Matthews, Kevin Sheedy. There'll be a former Lieutenant General because, you know, his work with legacy and also his trek in the Kokoda, which he was very proud of doing that. There will be a political aspect to it, believe it or not. Steve Bracks, the former Premier, and also his son, Ron Barassi. I'm not going to say Ron Barassi Jr. because Ron was actually Ron Barassi Jr. because his dad was Ron Sr.
After his dad,
so I don't think Ron Jr. would like me calling him that, but we'll hear from him, which is really sort of exciting in itself, if I can use that word, because the family has been fiercely private.
They have been,
career,
But family has been so important to him. You know, you rightly point out the way he absolutely honoured his father's life, even though he lost him at 5 years of age. He always had a hole in his life, didn't he, when his father died?
Yeah, that's right. And that was one of the things, like from the moment that his dad died on the battlefields in Tobruk. And again, this is where I say, like Norm Smith, his legendary coach at Melbourne, took on this father figure-like persona. And, you know, that's why it was so hard when Ron Barassi, at the end of the 1964 season, up and left Melbourne, which was just it was unthinkable, you know, but it happened, and he went to Carlton. And it would have been such a heartbreaking decision for him to do that. And then went on to have premiership success at Carlton, including the iconic 1970 grand final against Collingwood, where they had more than 100. Where they had more than Collingwood was so far up at half time.
I know.
And then Ron Barassi just said handball, handball, handball. It was revolutionary in front of still a record crowd of 121,000 plus here at the MCG.
And it's going to get packed, isn't it, today?
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, and everyone there will have some connection to Ron Barassi, whether it be in you know, sort of having met the man or feeling as though you know the man. So that's the sort of bloke that he was, and just a lovely, lovely man. He really was a gentleman.
The life of legendary AFL figure Ron Barassi will today be honoured right here at the MCG. It's a fitting tribute to the footy great, who over the course of his career secured 10 premiership wins and became the first to be inducted into the AFL Hall of Fame. Well, for more, we're joined by former Melbourne Demons player Rod Grinter. Rod, so good to see you this morning. Now, of course, you played under Ron Barassi for about a year. What was he like as a coach?
Look, he was a person that was a great orator, a legend of our sport. And the year that I played under Barassi in 1985, which was his last year at Melbourne, his 5-year plan, was a person that obviously I wore his boots as a young boy growing up.
You looked up to him?
Yeah, I looked up to him, and you know, the way that he coached was a very simple philosophy around teaching or telling us how to mark a footy, how to handball a footy, how to kick a footy, and I'm going, surely these guys know how to do that. You know, there was Robbie Flower, there was Peter Moore, there's Peter Giles, Shane Jack, some legends of our footy club, and that's the way that he approached his footy.
When you look back at some of the footage of Barassi as a coach, gee, he seemed to monster the players. Were you ever intimidated by him?
100%. Yeah, you wouldn't want to be saying anything when Barassi was speaking. You would sit back and listen. Absolutely, he had that aura about him. Whenever he walked into the room, you knew that he was there. He's just had that thing about him. He was just a legend of our sport.
We know how much he missed the absence of his father, right? And he tried to find father figures in his life. Did he almost become a father figure for the players under him in a way?
Well, I would think so. I think that's what a coach does. You know, a coach becomes a father figure, a doctor, a bloody psychologist, everything. And Barassi was certainly that when he was coaching. In my experience with him, yeah.
What kind of a legacy do you think he'll leave behind? Because we know he was so incredible in the field of AFL, but Barassi as a character as well is another person, right?
Yeah, look, the legacy will be that he created the national competition. He went international. You know, he was the one that went over and recruited Jimmy Steins and Sean White, who I played with, who are unfortunately not with us today. But so those things were something that Barassi did a lot of, was just think outside the square. And created this national competition, which we are all enjoying today.
10 premierships as a player and as a coach. We know that he, across the 4 different clubs, right? When he got to Sydney, he really did straighten up that club, didn't he? They were at a bit of a loss at the time.
Yeah, well, they were, and I think that's one of the things that Barassi does because of what he's done in his career, going to Sydney to a club that was sort of down and out because of what he did as a coach and a player. Pulled that back into line and got it on the right track, and away they went.
What do you reckon footy meant to him?
Everything, 100%, and the red and blue was everything. He was certainly a person that I got to know post my playing career, as what I do with the past players. We created the Ron Barassi Club to support and past players, which he was a great advocate for. He's a member of our coterie, Melbourne Footy Club coterie, and was all about the past and supporting those that weren't as fortunate as others. Yeah.
He was always so giving and with his time, and sort of didn't shy away from appearing vulnerable to the public, did he?
No,
he really opened up.
Yeah, look, he was sort of a guy that you would meet in the street would be quite shy, rather than you'd see him, what we see on the, as a coach, a very flamboyant and sometimes aggressive, but you meet him away from that field, he is quite a gentle person, yeah.
His family's pretty private. Have you managed to speak to them since his passing?
No, no. Well, I never really met his family. At his 80th birthday, we had we held a function here to launch the Ron Barassi Club, and that was the first time I'd actually met his family. Cheryl, his wife, I've met her during my playing time. But very private, the family, yeah. So I hadn't really had much to do with them. Rosemary Long, which is his manager, I had a lot to do with her.
They'd be heartened really by the outpouring of support and love that he had in the community.
Absolutely, and very warranted because of the person that he is and what he's done for our sport.
Yeah, absolutely, Rod. Thank you so much for joining us
No
today.
worries,
Really
Sarah.
beautiful
Thank
tribute
you.
there from you.
Good
Appreciate
on
it.
you.
We'll
Thank
see you
you.
in there soon.
Thank you.
All right, stay with us. You're watching Today. We'll have the news headlines next. Hey there, Today fans. Sarah and...
What's my name again?
Oh my goodness, Carl.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel, though. Subscribe now for more news, special reports, and amazing Aussie stories.
And Carl misbehaving,
Whoa,
of course.
that never happens.
Always happens.
What's she talking about?
Always happens.